Hi, and welcome back to Posh Talk. I'm your host, Sierra, also known as the Posh Queen, and welcome to Posh Talk. Posh Talk is an entrepreneurship podcast, but it's meant to be an easy listen. So we're just going to have a little bit of candid conversation, and y'all just get right into it. We're going to start off with our Posh assets, and that's just like the little business sprinklings or little entrepreneurial sprinklings that I'll be bringing to you today. Nothing too crazy. Let's see what's on the docket for today. So, I wanted to talk about, and I feel like I've briefly mentioned it before. Don't be afraid to create something out of nothing. And what I mean when I say that is a lot of times, a lot of businesses and a lot of products and services that we use were just issues that were solved in someone's day-to-day life. And so it's not something that was existed or yet formed yet, but it was something that they created kind of out of nothing, out of almost like a need or necessity of a singular issue that they were having. And then they figured out, you know what, somebody else might have this issue, or somebody else may want it or love it as much as I do. And that could be a product or service that they could provide, just something to make someone's life easier or someone's life just a tad bit better. And so my advice is don't be afraid to just create something literally out of nothing. Like when I mean nothing, I mean like thin air. Like you have an idea and you're like, you know what? I think this might be a cool thing to offer the world or offer someone. I feel like it's super easy to do nowadays just because we have lots of tools and products that will help us create things out of just thin air. So if you have an idea for a brand, let's say that you made a drink and you're like, you know what, this drink is really good. It'd be cool if I could like provide this drink to other people and, just sell it. It doesn't take me that much to make. And, it's fairly nutritional, or you find like some type of niche thing that it has, like no preservative, like nutritional, no colorants or anything added. I think I want to bottle this up and package it and sell it at the farmer's market. I feel like that's literally creating something out of nothing because you were just in your house and you thought something was tasty or a treat or something that you would enjoy. And you just wanted to share it with the world to brighten someone's day or give them an alternative to drinking something that may be like sugary or unhealthy. And that's just one example. Another thing could be providing like a service of some sort. You see, I'm trying to think of something out of thin air. You're hosting a party and you're like, you know what? I wish I had better dinnerware or glassware. And you're like, it would be cool. I'm pretty sure that a lot of people feel this way too. I would like to start a business where I provide like just random glassware and dinnerware to people who are just hosting parties or events. They can rent it out for the night and I pick it up and that's that. I only have to see the overhead for it once because I just buy the stuff once and people rent it out and they just keep reusing it and rinsing and repeating. And if something breaks, it's okay because I probably made my money back off of it and I can just, do that. I feel like those are like, creating something out of nothing because it's just like you saw a problem and you decided to fix it and you just created something to kind of fill the need for that. And, I feel like the moral of the story isn't even just to give people business ideas, but it's really just to kind of give inspiration that most great businesses just started out as a figment of an imagination and it was just someone's idea to bring it to life. So don't be afraid to let that be you. Whatever idea that you have or whatever you think, could help the world or fix an issue for you or somebody close to you, make it a business. If that's what you want to do. If you don't want to monetize your stuff, don't monetize it. But if you feel like you want an outlet or you want that extra income or you want to take the journey of entrepreneurship, literally start by just solving your own issues or solving your own problems and bringing your dreams to reality. So yeah, that's my Posh asset for today. no strings attached. This is going to be our relationship segment. I think that I've skipped it for the last two podcasts, so happy to be back. No strings attached. And so I'm going to be talking about dating with intention. I feel like I like talking about dating, even though I'm in a relationship right now. I really enjoyed the journey to get to my relationship because I actually did enjoy dating a lot. So I kind of wanted to talk about that in a perspective of kind of just like how I kind of got into a serious relationship and the things that I did that were very strategic so that I could get to this point, because that's where I would say a lot of women are kind of looking to get to that point because they are trying to pursue marriage. I'm in the second part of this where I'm also trying to pursue marriage. And so you can't get to that without starting with these things. So that's what I kind of want to get into. So moving beyond situationships and setting real relationship goals. And when I say relationship goals, I'm not literally talking about like the super aesthetic, like cringy couple content, like, oh, relationship goals, because there's no relationship that I've ever seen that's been like a goal. You should be the own marker of your goalpost when it comes to setting standards for your own relationship. And if anybody tells you different, don't believe them. And so I'm going to talk about three things. And so the three things I'm going to talk about are casual hookups, not dating your type, and not willing to self-improve. These are the things that I found within myself was super difficult for me when I started dating and trying to find a real and long-term partner. And there are also things that I saw and I see in like friendships who are single, who are kind of seeking some type of companionship. So I'll say casual hookups. I would say that for our culture, we romanticize and normalize the idea of casual hookups, kind of like going home with someone right after you first meet them, and getting to the deal, and and rinsing and repeating that cycle until you kind of find the one. And it's a little bit unrealistic if you want something more serious. And then I'm not saying this in a prude way or in like a self-righteous way, but it's kind of like, I'm not saying that you have to be super strict or whatever to find love, but I feel like you have to understand what casual hookups are and the space and the mental that people are in to have like casual hookups. I wasn't casually hooking up with anybody who I seriously wanted to pursue, because I'm like, I don't want the foundation of our relationship to be just physical. I want the foundation of our relationship to honestly be friendship. I want to actually like you. Like, I want to actually enjoy your company. And so I just found that having a casual hookup kind of took the place of that. And it just wasn't something that was super sustainable for a long-term relationship. So I would advise to not be into casual hookups if you are seeking something that is more long-term. Next is not dating your type. And my thing is, this is super loaded because people, when they're like, oh no, that's just not they're not my type, or that's just not my type, they think of things kind of like as body type or weight or skin tone or race and ethnicity. And that's not the case where I'm talking about. When I'm talking about dating your type, I'm literally talking about all the things outside of the physical attributes, because honestly, the physical attributes are cute now, but I don't think that there's something that you need to be super worried about for long term. And it's not to say that they don't matter, but they don't matter as much as you think they do. When you think about having a long-term relationship. And that's simply put just because looks can change. And that's the simplest way to put it. So it's like, if you rely on something as fickle as the way someone looks, odds are you're not going to be completely happy with that person, because looks change. And I'm gonna circle back around to that. But when I say dating your type, like, I knew that when I had a checklist of things that, I wanted for the next person that I got into a serious relationship with, I wanted to make sure that they were in a reasonable or close proximity to me. Because I like to go out, I like to have fun, or I just kind of like to chill with my partner, especially when I'm getting to know them. And having someone be super like far away just was not conducive in what I was trying to do when I'm trying to date. And then for another example, just the type of lifestyle they lead. I'm not somebody who smokes any type of drugs or do drugs in general. So I knew that like if I was dating somebody and that was a part of their lifestyle, that would probably not be somebody that I would date. And I never dated anyone who was partaking in drugs while we were dating. That's not whatever, but that's just an example that I'm giving you. Like I drink, but most people that I dated, they also drank too. I don't think I've ever dated anyone who was just like, oh no, I don't drink at all. There would be kind of like a disconnect. Not saying like, oh, I don't want to date you because you drink, but typically, some people might get uncomfortable if they're just like, oh, we drink, like you drink every time we go somewhere, or like I may want to enjoy a drink with you and you really don't drink at all, or it could be anything. But yeah, when it comes to dating my type, I just want our lifestyles to match. I don't want it to be such a disjointed connection, because then you have like imbalances of power, and then you have just imbalances of just kind of how like we perceive each other and we perceive ourselves in a relationship. And I've been in relationships where it's just like there's like kind of like this imbalance, and I don't prefer it. I would say when I was dating in more of my earlier 20s, and I did have like a full-time job. If I was dating someone and they didn't have a full-time job, or they had like a part-time job, or like kind of like a dead-end job where it's just like, I'm just doing this for money right now, and it wasn't even like super good money and they were going to transition. It was just like, oh no, I'm just here working this right now, no real goal in mind. Those things typically didn't last that long for me, because I'm very goal oriented. And if I am working a dead end job, best believe there's an end goal to it. And I'm only here for a short period of time, because it's either my waiting period until I get to something better, or I'm literally just trying to stack up something so that I can move on to something greater. And so that's what I mean in terms of like, wanting to date your type. You kind of just want to be with people and around people who kind of just match your energy and your vibe outside of aesthetics. Now, when it does come to aesthetics, I feel like that's where people mess up, and they miss out on like really, really good things, because they're super caught up in like the way someone looks. And they're just like, oh no, well, I don't date light skins and I don't date dark skins. And I really hate that, not just because of the colorism of it all, but I'm just like, that's such a very antiquated thing to go off of when you're trying to think of trying to find an actual connection with someone. Because I'm like, what if this person really is a beautiful person and a very interesting person, and you're just like, oh no, I don't want to date them because they don't look exactly how I want them to look. I really do feel like a lot of people, they miss out on true love connections and true matches because they're super obsessed about how someone looks. And I think it goes back to how other people will perceive them with somebody. Because I'm not gonna lie, once I put that notion to rest of kind of like, oh no, like I want my person to look exactly this way, or be this type of aesthetic, that's when I realized that I was going on more dates than my friends who were searching for partners and everything. And it's not to say like, oh yeah, you have to date the people who like, I'm not saying date people who you absolutely find unattractive, but it's okay to go kind of like against what you may perceive in your mind, because you may need to grow, and you may just need to open your horizons and stretch your wings a little bit more. I learned nothing but good things from dating people who were traditionally not what I would have dated in the past. So it's kind of like, even if you had everybody lined up of like people who I've dated, which, oh my gosh, it's a nightmare. I do not want to do that. But even if I did, I would say nobody looks exactly alike. And I think that's reasonable. So yeah, I would say my biggest, if out of everything on this, it's kind of like, this would probably, they're all important, I don't know, but this would probably be the one that I'm just like, this is probably going to be the hardest pill to swallow. And it's just like, yeah, babes, you're getting in your own way because you're super obsessed about how other people look, because you want them to perceive you a certain type of way based on how your partner looks. And it's like, that has nothing to do with them. Whether you find your partner attractive or not has more to do with you than anybody else. So just make sure that, you're dating for the right reasons and they're not purely off of aesthetics. Um, and then not willing to self-improve. I find this a lot in women, and I would say even like, in myself, because sometimes the call is coming from inside the house. I feel like there's women who are just like, oh, I've been dating for years, or I want to find a partner, or I want to be in a serious relationship, but I just can't. I'm just always chronically single. Like, I find myself being single a lot, or I don't know how to handle myself on dates, or I'm just not finding the right guy. And it's just like, okay, you're not willing to self-improve. Like, you have to make sure that you're actually a good person within, so that you can be like a good partner throughout whatever you're trying to do. So even if you're in a relationship, like, I found that a lot of women get in their way just because they don't want to be the one to make the first move, quote unquote, or they're like, oh no, I'm not going to shoot my shot. Like, a man should come to me, or a woman should come to me if they're interested in me. And I'm just like, okay, in an ideal world that works or whatever, but I'm just like, there's nothing wrong with you showing somebody you're interested in them just as much as they're interested in you. And I just find it frankly kind of like unfair, because I'm just like, there's no law that says like masculine presenting people have to be the first one to approach feminine women. Like, I feel like the women who are like happy and who do have like, successful relationships, or, you see them and they're like, dang, they're always dating someone. They're not afraid to make the first move or show that they have some initial interest like in the beginning. And some may feel like that's kind of thirsty or whatever it may be. And it's really not. Like, it's really not. It's you showing that you're enthusiastic about dating someone and getting to know them. And what's wrong with that? And then along with self-improvement is just kind of thinking that like you're kind of like too good, or you're better than the men that you're dating. Because I'm just like, okay, you have to find something that you like in some people. And I'm not saying that dating should be hard at all. Like, honestly, dating should be fun. It's not super easy, but just talking to someone and connecting with them, it shouldn't be like pulling teeth, and you shouldn't necessarily hate everybody that you meet. If you're finding that that's what your reality is, you may need to do a little bit of soul searching and like self-awareness, because you're just like, either you're attracting the wrong people, or you're just being a little bit too nitpicky about people. And I'm not a dating coach or someone who just gives life advice, but these are just my own personal realities that I've met and found when I was dating people. There's been plenty of reasons why I've been super turned off by people. And it doesn't really have so much to do with like, oh my gosh, they're like super annoying or anything, but they've just done like weird things on the date or on the first meetup. And I'm just like, why are you acting creepy? That's not a good thing to do when you're first meeting somebody. Like, what? Hello? Like, hello? Yeah, like story time. I definitely went on a date one time, and it wasn't here in Atlanta. That'd have been creepy, but I was in Savannah, and I met up with someone, and they started talking about women getting like shipped off and never seeing their seeing their family again in shipping containers, and how like easy it would be to like just get kind of like kidnapped and sent away somewhere in a foreign country, and nobody would ever find you in a shipping container. And I'm like, what in your right mind would make you think to talk about that on a first meetup? Like, we're together alone right now, and you're talking to me about women getting kidnapped and sex trafficked in a shipping container. Like, have you lost it? But yeah, some people are just really like out of it when they some people are just really out of it when it comes to dating, and they just have no dating etiquette, and they just really don't understand what they should be doing or saying, and they just are oblivious that they may be the problem and they may be the common denominator. But yeah, those are my 3 tips. Avoiding casual hookups, date your type, and you must be willing to self-improve. So yeah, that wraps up our no strings attached segment. We're going to be back after this break, so stay tuned and don't move. Posh Q Consultation is a consulting and branding company that specializes in business consulting, branding, and web development. We're accepting new clients and new projects. Visit us at poshqconsult.com. Okay, and welcome back. So we're in the Ask My Consultant section. And if you didn't know, I'm a consultant for my business, Posh Q Consultations. And in that, with every product and most of the services that I I offer a consulting with that. And I do that because I want to make sure whatever I'm creating for you or helping you with, I want to understand what your business is and where you project it to see it going, just so I can make sure that the solutions that I offer you are something that lasts years to come and not something that will just be unable to be used in a week or a month or something. So yeah. So in this segment, I answer questions from my DM or the email. To have any questions read on the podcast, send all questions to poshtalkpod@gmail.com, or you can send them to my Instagram DM, I am Posh C, or I at the Posh Talk Pod Instagram as well. And so these came from the DM, and so I'm going to get into these. And if you ever want to have your business shout out through these, by all means do that. I would love to do that. However, if you want to keep it anonymous, do that. Most people keep it anonymous, so I understand. So let's get into it. It says, how do you balance your personal life, love life, and self-care? I've talked about this on previous episodes, but I think I've described it as having like a bunch of different pots on a stove, and sometimes the thing in the front is going to get all the tender loving care and it's going to be cooked the best, and the stuff in the back is just like the can of corn that you just open and you're heating up. You're not really doing too much to it, and it sucks that it has to be that. But to be the best person 100% of the time in every aspect of your life is not physically possible. And if you try to do that, you're going to burn yourself out. You just have to understand that while you can be a great business owner, you might not be the best partner in the moment, because you know your partner may need more from you. And while you are the best girlfriend at the moment right now, or the best wife in the future, you may not be like the most attentive business owner. Some things may fall through the cracks. And so it's about how you manage and how you set up things in your life so that you make sure that the things that you care about the most are being attended to. And so I feel like all great women have to struggle with that, because as women, we become moms. We're always going to be daughters and sisters and a cousin and a business owner, and then, you know, a mom. And it's, the titles are never ending, but you do have to understand that, you know, family is one of those things that matter the most, and you are the thing that matters the most. So you have to make sure that at the root of it, that you are prioritizing your happiness, your self-care, your sanity, so that you can show up for all those things. And even if you can't be the best, you could still be good, and you could put in the best effort that you can. So my answer to that would just be, you just have to balance it out by, it might be selfish, putting yourself first, making sure that you prioritize your self-care, and like I said, your sanity. Make sure that you are, if you need to speak to a therapist, seeking your therapist, making sure that your spirituality, you know, stay prayed up, speak to God, do all those things first, just so you can show up and be, you know, even if it's just good for those people, show up and be good, because it's nearly impossible to be great at everything. And just understand that the seasons are going to change. In some seasons you're going to be a great entrepreneur, and in other seasons you're just going to be okay, and that's fine too. So I think that's how I feel about that. All right, let's do another one. What websites can I use for market research when trying to look for demographics? This is a really cool one. So my main two websites for looking for like unadulterated, unbiased demographics You do have to use your thinking caps and a little bit of like connecting point A to point B, but the U.S. Census, now this is if you're looking for demographics of the United States, worldwide, it can get a little tricky, and I'm not that experienced in looking for demographics worldwide, but just specifically here in the U.S. Census has really great demographics just because it is unbiased. They're not, pulling it from political opinions. It's literally just getting like the demographics of an area. And I actually forgot how recent the census gets updated, but just make sure you always answer the census because those are the things that affect funding and everything for your communities and your areas and the schools and all of that stuff. So a little bit of tidbit, but yeah, the U.S. Census really helps when looking for demographics when it comes to age, race, gender of certain areas, and it gives you zip codes, and so that kind of gives you an idea about how much money these people have in this particular area. I think it tracks it tracks race, income, and I believe education. And if you want to know more about like an area and the type of schools that are like in that specific area, you can also look on like real estate websites. Keep in mind they are customer facing, so that's the kind of like you have to make the point A to B, like you have to make those connections to by yourself. But just doing your research of kind of like, okay, so what is this public school look like in this area, and doing research on the public school, like do they receive a lot of funding, what's the demographics of that school, they say it's a good school, what is the things that make it a good school, like is it D1 Title 1, is it a Title 1 school that means something. Well, I knew at least when I was younger that meant that something with test scores. See, don't ask me the specifics of it, but like I said, always do your research. But yeah, definitely real estate websites where you can kind of just look at the different zip codes and they'll tell you the schools in that area. You can see how much the houses cost. That kind of puts you in the range of how much those people would kind of make and what type of disposable income. And most people want to get different demographics so they understand if their service is something that will be provided great in that area. Like let's say for instance you had a brick and mortar store that you wanted to move your products into, or that you wanted to open and you want to open it in a neighborhood. You want to make sure you price your things correctly so that they're not too high and your price range is way too high for the people who live there, and you don't want it to be too low because you could just be leaving money on the table for no reason, and you could be also sacrificing quality that you could have met had you charged a little bit more. So yeah, that's my tips on that. So yeah, if you have any questions, like I said, please send them to poshtalkpod@gmail.com or send them to my Instagrams, either the podcast or my personal. I'll get them, no worries. And all those links will also be linked in the show notes. So no worries to that. And so I thank you so much for tuning in to this episode. I really appreciate everyone who listens. It does not go unnoticed. And I really appreciate y'all being here with me through my entrepreneurship journey and through my podcast journey, because this is a passion product. A passion project. And I really just in love just talking to people and sharing my knowledge and just having like that other wave of communication. So yeah, thanks so much, guys. Be sure to like, rate and comment on the podcast. Wherever you see you can rate, please rate. Wherever you can see you can comment, please comment. Interact with my content when you see it come up on your Instagram. Thank you so much, guys. Stay posh. Bye.